I've decided today to make a video of how we're going to put up our own patio blinds and fix up this patio that my daughter wants to be warm in winter. My son would like to be able to use all his exercise equipment, including a boxing bag, which is at a place at the moment. I realised if I was going to cover the lattice with patio blinds and particularly mosquito net that I wanted to stay in place, I really should clean it before I put anything up. That's why I'm giving you tips on cleaning. I'm a tax agent, my name's Sue Moss, and I did a favour for one of my clients who's a builder. So he did a favour for me because my patio was leaking. This wood that you can see up there in front of you had originally rotted out and was dripping down on my clients when they came to the door. So I'd actually put a little drip container. I'll zoom in a little bit. I'd built a little ledge in here and put a drip container to catch most of the drips. Then the wood rotted out further back over to that section there that's in the centre, and it was still dripping on everyone. So because I did a favour for him and worked for him for nothing, he worked for me for nothing. However, his apprentice didn't know a few things that were important. He didn't realise that when you put up new Laserlite and you have to put the flashing, which is the metal part on the outside, back over top, you usually drill holes to hold that flashing on. The actual filings, I guess you call them, from drilling the holes went all over my Laserlite. And over a period of a week or two, it totally rusted. I had rust spots all over the Laserlite. So I called up my client and asked him if he had any tips for how I could clean it. And he said, "Oh, don't worry, Sue, I'll come round and I'll do it." And he did. He came round and he quickly cleaned it, hosed it all down, and it's no rust whatsoever. And that had been up there actually for about 4 to 6 weeks now, and it came off without any problems. And he left me a container of what he used to clean it. And it was simply a 1 kilo packet of baking soda. And he had half a kilo left. And I thought, well, this is pretty grimy. What am I going to do with it? I'm not going to cook with it. I might clean my own back patio with it. It's cheap, and let's see if it does the job. It certainly cleaned off all the rust on the Laserlite. Last week I used up all the bicarbonate of soda that was left over in the packet, so I've just grabbed some out of my kitchen cupboard. Hope you can see this. It's so hard working without kids to help me, but it's 9:45 on a Sunday morning and they're still asleep. And look, they've got a lot to do, so I'm not going to bother them. And they'll probably think I'm stupid for making this video, but I was in Bunnings last night with my daughter picking up the vinyl for... Oh, sorry, explain what I'm doing here. To get the hard to remove stains off, I made a paste with because I followed the instructions that were on the back of the packet, that's not on this one, but it was on the box for 1 kilo, of how to get rid of hard stains. For a barbecue it was. So I made up a paste, and it's just a little bit of water in it, not a lot. That's not sloppy enough. I used one of these things. It was brand new last week. Excuse the video that's not very professional, it's just homemade. But what I started to say is I was in Bunnings last night buying the clear plastic for the patio blinds, and a gentleman was at the service desk where we were waiting, and he was asking for help with his patio blinds, how to adjust them so he could fix them up for his... Oh, excuse the dogs too, they're just They're in the backyard and the neighbour's dog's been making a lot of noise, so have they. Hang on a sec, I'll get them to be quiet. So I've made my paste and I'm about to make up what I also used for the patio, and that is I used a bucket last week and it was half full, and I put in half a cup of baking soda for half a cup of water in the bucket. Didn't matter whether it was cold or warm, just whatever I wanted to use. Now, sorry, these tips all came about because this man, he needed help and no one at Bunnings knew how to help him, and I did. So I decided before I start putting this patio together, and I worked out the costs are going to be fantastic compared to having it professionally done. So I want to help people learn how to do up their back patio as cheap as possible. And part of it is you've got to clean first. Now, so wherever there was difficult stains, I'd wash down with this paste, and either that side or that side, didn't matter. Grab one of these as well and use those. And I went over everything, the shade cloth, everything that was really messy. And I'm afraid I hadn't cleaned it for probably 14 years that it had been up there. And so there was a lot of mould, not just mould, green moss growing in it, like my name. And then when it wasn't hard to clean, I just used this and the soft side. Now, what I'm going to show you is I continued everywhere. I used it on the windows and they came up great until I did some extra work up above them and then got them all dirty again. Just an extra tip, when you're using a ice cream container that's half full of water, the equivalent of what I was using last week was I had 5 litres and half a cup. That's 125 grams. So 1 litre needs about a heaped tablespoon in it, and that's all stirred around and get started. Comes up nice. Last weekend I was in a real hurry to leave in time to get my son to a job on Sunday morning at 10 to 9. So I didn't get time to rinse everything down properly, and as you can see, some of it's nice and clean, but some of it has still got bicarb soda on it because I did not wipe it down enough as I was rinsing. So that's one patchy spot I've got to clean this morning. The rest of it's really good. And I'm really disappointed with this. This is one section that came off really well with the bicarb. But this bit here, you can see along the bottom, it's got a stain mark, and I haven't quite worked out yet what to do about that. Okay, I've wiped it all down with a sponge, and I started to squirt with the hose, as you can see. That's the area I did with the exit mould. It looks pretty clean. That's what it looked like last week. The next section here, I've wiped it with a sponge, and that's the sards with the eucalyptus in. That's looking clean too. Okay, that's good. Now this is the Mr. Muscle area. If you can see all that water, that's why I was so wet last week. Hang on a second. The 30-second stuff says to leave for 15 minutes. I haven't done so, but it seemed to come so clean. I'm just going to give it a squirt off now. You can see the soap still dripping out of the side section. To be honest, it all looks great. I'm just going to finish it off. Just a little more on cleaning. See this section here that had all the bicarb of soda still on it. That just washed off and wiped down. I'm disappointed in this area here. That's one I should have really cleaned. I've tried cleaning this now with sards as well as the bicarb, scrubbing it with a scrubbing brush, and it's still not quite coming clean, and I'll never get to it if I try my method of preventing condensation. So I want to get this clean. I've got another section over here too. You can just see it, that needs cleaning. And it's all because it's kept running down off the roof, I guess, after I've left for the morning, because the water splashes up off all of the timber and hits the roof, and it gradually drips down. In the process of trying to remove that white powder that was all along my board, see how one's clean? What I've realised it is when I was cleaning, you can see these dots up here that are come from today's cleaning. Or maybe you can, I'm not sure. But I can see soap suds up on the ceiling. And I've walked away last weekend, rushed off I should say, without wiping down the underside of the fiberglass. I just wiped it down now with a towel, and it's come away filthy. And I would have been going to seal that in, never to be able to get to it again, and it would have eventually washed down with condensation onto that beam, just like it's done all week because we've had a rainy week. So I'm going to finish wiping over the whole of the underside of this fiberglass to get it clean as well. And look, if I'm still unhappy with anything, I could touch it up with a bit of Mission Brown paint if I wanted to. But that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you. This looked like it was absolutely clean this morning after I washed it. It looked like every single product got rid of the line. Now it's back, and it's back worse, and it's over there. It's a watermark, it's got to be, and it's rising up from the bottom. It's got to be something to do with the shade cloth, drawing it up from the bottom and putting it on as a line, and I just can't do anything to get rid of it. It's watermarks, and every time I treat it, it comes back. My son reckons it probably won't look half as bad in the daylight. I don't know what to do about it, to be honest. And in fact, I think I should do nothing now. That's gotten worse at night as well. It's just a case of put up with it. The first night I looked at this stain, it was really shocking, and I was really, really disappointed. As you can see, there's some sections that are worse than others. This is 2 days later, I think. And this area down here, which had the 30-second stuff put on it, it looks pretty good in daylight. It's worse at night time, it shows up more. It's barely there. But and this section here with the Mr. Muscle, not very good at all. The next section, eucalyptus sards wonder soap, not ideal. The next section was pretty free of it beforehand anyway, but it's still there in the background. It had exit mould on it. What I've come to realise is that this is definitely a watermark. I think that, can you see just here? I think there's dirt from the roof that's come down over the many years of it being up, about 14 years. Sorry about the plastic on the gym equipment blowing in the wind and the noise in the background. But just quickly, I'm sure it's a watermark, and I know how to get rid of watermarks. and I'm going to give it a go and I'll show you later. It's from treating clothes. You simply wash the stain out, don't put too much water on everything, then towel dry it and blow dry it. Get the heat onto it before it can suck up the water from down below. Now whether that means that every time it rains water's going to come back and it's going to rise back up again, which is probably what caused before I even started this project there was a green section from here to here all the way along, and it is probably water coming down and sucking back up and the algae growing. Now this section here that's very, very good was the 30-second algae killer thing, which is basically pool chlorine diluted a fraction. Not a lot. So you can get some pool chlorine and treat your stuff with it if you're really concerned. Over here it's come back because maybe it's just going to do that. So I'm going to treat it with the 30-second stuff and dry it out as quickly as I can, feathering it all out, not overheating the timber and the plastic. Most of you won't have shade cloth, but I found the shade cloth was essential to keep the sun out of our eyes because we're on such an elevated spot, and in winter we wanted to sit on our swing and enjoy the view, not be squinting all the time.